Okay, Rep.
All right, Mr. Jamil, I'm ready for my close-up now. I want to welcome everybody to the St. Catharines Heritage Advisory Committee meeting for Thursday, May 29th, 2025. We begin this gathering by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of the Indigenous people. Do we have any additions or deletions for the agenda? Seeing nothing, then I guess we need a motion to approve the agenda. Andrew, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. And moving on to the minutes of the previous meeting, April 24th. Do you have any questions, comments, changes to be made? Spelling errors to be corrected? Nothing? Okay. So
I
I
thought
guess
the minutes looked great. So thank you, Christian and Lauren, of course, for the minutes. Yeah, they looked great this time.
It's definitely our new planning student, Christian, who was taking over the minutes, and he did a great job. Yeah.
He did. He did a great job.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I like your little comment this time. They look good this time.
Oops.
Yeah. Okay, so can we have a motion to approve the minutes? Lauren, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Declarations of interest, do we have any? No, none. Okay. Then moving on to item 7.1, citywide plaques update. Adrian.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, welcome.
Thanks
Thanks for having me back. Good to see you all. So I'm going to try to keep my comments brief in case there's questions, but here's my little update. The oil fountain panel is off to print and fabrication, and will be ready for installation around the same time that the restored pieces of the fountain are completed and installed. So the work on the restored pieces has been completed, and they're just organizing the installation. The work, you might be interested to know, the work was completed by traditional cut stone and memorial restoration. Once we have a better handle on the install dates for that and the restored pieces and the installation of the panel, we'll get to work on some kind of unveiling date and whatever an unveiling event might look like. So that could be soon, which is great. Yay. The concrete pad for the Global Famine Way Monument, which the committee generously donated funds to last year, is almost ready to be poured. And the monument itself is going to be Irish blue limestone, which is very interesting. And it's going to be carved by Trinity Custom Masonry. And we hope to have the unveiling for that with the Irish Music Festival on July 8th. So if you can mark your calendars for July 8th, we'd love to have you there here at the museum for the unveiling of that event. There'll be a formal invitation and details to follow. But if you can mark July 8th in your calendar, that'd be great. And we're planning some music because, of course, it's the Irish Music Festival that has organized this monument. So there's going to be some celebratory music, which is exciting. Lauren and I are testing out a process. We thought we'd have more time to test out this process, but some things have happened that we're going to test out the process now. So it's a process for project managing the many plaques and interpretive panels that exist and nobody's really looking after. but also the many new ones that are coming our way from a variety of different places. The process includes how to channel the content development and project manage all the steps involved in putting a panel together, and including the relevant departments and staff. For a good example is working with the culture department on the oil fountain panel, since the oil fountain is in culture's collection, public art collection. Um, anyway, so with that said, we've had the opportunity to test out our little process. It's still kind of very much draft, but we've had an opportunity to test it out because two panels have come our way in the last little while. The region reached out to the city to organize the interpretive panel to go on the new bridge that will cross the CNR tracks at the station, the replacement for the old bridge. And the panel will focus on the significance of that particular bridge structure. So that's exciting that we were identified as the city, and we were identified as the team to do that. So that's really exciting. And so we're working on that design now, and when that's ready, we'll bring it to the committee for comment. It's a very long project because the whole idea of a panel on the new bridge, an interpretive panel on the new bridge about the old bridge, was actually thanks to the advocacy of this committee. And Lauren or James, you can remind me of the date. It's before both of your times that it was included in the heritage reports to have an interpretive panel on the bridge. So that has come full circle. So yay for that. So thanks to your advocacy. Lauren, do you remember the date of that?
I don't know the date, but it was a Michael project. Yeah,
Yeah,
Michael Steven was advocating for it. So it was a
yeah.
couple heritage planners ago. Yeah.
So I know things take a lot of time sometimes, but that's a full circle on your advocacy. So huge props to all of you for that. Um, we also hope, and this is long, yeah, as I just said, some projects are very long. So we also hope to install some complementary panels at the train station at a later date, luckily with the support of the Parks Department. But we're going to wait until Metrolinx has wrapped up all of the work and all the bridge work is done and everything's done. So the idea is a panel specifically about the bridge and the railway. And then later on, we'll cover the train station and all of that stuff. And they'll complement each other, hopefully. And so that'll be a nice, happy thing. And then the other panel you may have heard of, it came to council. And this is a really great example of panels coming from all directions all the time. The Horticultural Society has asked for an interpretive panel recognizing Henry Burgoyne's donation of the Rose Garden at Montebello Park, which is great. And so council approved funds for that. And I have it from a source who might know that there used to be a plaque about that, at least recognizing the donation, probably not an interpretive panel. So it's kind of maybe a replacement, but the Horticultural Society has advocated for that. So we'll be working on an interpretive panel for that story and to go into the Rose Garden. We're not really sure of any of the details just yet. It's still very early. And council approved funding for that. So that's great. And the timeline for that, as I mentioned, is still in discussion. So once we have some content ready to show the committee, we will bring that to you, hopefully this summer, maybe, depending on how long some of the other projects take. We do have a little bit longer of a timeline, I think, for this one. So anyway, that's very early days, but it's another exciting opportunity that the staff team and the committee were identified by council and senior management to handle those projects. So yay, that's great. I thought I'd also provide a brief update on the work of the implementation of the Welland Canal Task Force, because there's a couple of things that have taken us a little while to get going in the winter and spring. So first, we're very grateful to Colleen Beard for sharing the data of her GIS map with us so that we have sort of a semi-blank GIS map with the canal infrastructure on it that we can use to inventory the current collateral of the Merit Trail, and then also plan out some of the interpretive installations that were in the plan. And that way we can use a tool that Public Works is already using. So it should increase efficiency on, we'd like this particular sign at this particular location, install it. Yay. So that's good. And that's just under development, and we'll be able to start mapping some of those things soon. And then another part that's taken a little bit of time, but that's okay, is we're working closely with management to organize a working group of staff to implement the plans. And the working group will comprise of, me, Lauren, James, and lots of different people from other departments. Um, People that we are used to working with, and new people who look after all sorts of different things around the city, from trail maintenance to infrastructure to sidewalks, etc. Everything that was in the plan essentially needs to get looked after by somebody, and so the working group hopefully will help to streamline and make the implementation really efficient. And hopefully we have some start on that this quarter. So that's my update. I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
Okay, thanks, Adrian.
You're welcome.
I sort of had one question and uh, a comment. With the oil fountain, like the little lion's heads were taken off. Like what was actually wrong with them?
There's one, as far as I know, and Lauren and James, maybe you can help my memory because we know my memory's bad. One lion's head was vandalized, damaged, and I think this is the idea was we'll just redo both of them. And so that was done along with
The
the
urn.
urn on top. Yeah.
So are the lion's heads that are going in, are they like facsimiles, or are they the
Yeah.
originals that have been repaired?
Yeah, Olivia showed me a photo of the new ones, and they are essentially copies. Is that the right way to say it? Essentially
Right.
the same thing. Yeah.
So the old ones are going to the museum, or are they?
Yeah, Olivia and I were just chatting about that today. I'm not in charge of the collection, but that was I think that's the idea that those pieces come to us. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say, if you're putting in, plaques, various plaques at the new railway station, like you say, that's going to be, a ways away down the road. But I've got a couple of pictures that you might be interested in, for including on a plaque. There's one picture that Fred Parnell took in about 1914, 1915 of all kinds of Lincoln Regiment troops lined
Yes.
up on the platform going off, to probably heading off to Toronto or wherever they were going, which, might be interesting. But then there's a really cool watercolor that was done in 1866 at the time of the Fenian raids. And it shows the original train station with wounded Fenian raid, like the ones who were defending the province, being brought to the train station. And of course, they've all got, bandages around their head, and they're moaning and groaning. I mean, it's a really great watercolor, and that probably should be one that you include as well.
Yeah, that's really great. Brian, I haven't seen that watercolor before. Is that in your collection?
The original actually is in the Fort Erie Museum.
Oh, okay.
They got them from wherever,
Yeah.
and they supplied me with a really good uh, color image of it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because Lauren and I both identified those types of stories, those intangible stories of the railway station being a place for coming and going for the military, as a story that definitely needs to be covered. So, and there's some, as you mentioned, there's some great First World War photos and some really awesome Second World War photos to be included. So, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Because then in that same series of watercolors, there's another one, showing Fenian, the Fenian wounded being brought into the old courthouse in downtown St.
Oh,
Catharines.
cool.
And
That's cool.
there's an omnibus that had come from the train station. You can see the Welland House in the background. It's a really cool picture. So anyway,
Great.
Lorraine, or,
Thank you.
or you had a
Yeah,
question?
I do. Actually, I had several questions, but Adrian, you answered them all as we were going along. So I have
But
just two reminders for you. First of all, for the oil fountain, you can remember to let us know ahead of time
oh yeah.
when there's going to be some kind of celebration of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably send a note to Lauren as soon as we start leaning on a date for something for you to save the date, and then we'll work with culture on what we want that to look like. They don't usually do an unveiling for just a restoration of a monument, but because the panel's new,
Hmm.
we're working on what that looks like. And if we invite the mayor and council and senior management and so we're still working on the details for that. So yeah, as soon as we lean on a date, we'll send you a mark your calendars thing and then an official invitation.
Terrific. And then the second thing is that back when we were having the discussions at committee about the railroad station and the railroad bridge, we had asked if some of the pieces of the bridge could be saved and incorporated into a display inside the new station or the renovated station. So just a reminder that that was something we were looking for as well.
Yeah, the Lauren, do you want me to talk about that? Yeah, I don't have the designs handy, and they're kind of complicated anyway, but the region has incorporated the lattice and not the actual lattice and pole. Unfortunately, it didn't work for the new construction, but they've incorporated the same kind of artistic element to the pedestrian stairway that comes up from Shikluna to the bridge. So there'll be and Lauren, you can help me with the language here.
Yeah.
There'll be like an echo of the
Yeah.
pedestrian way from the old bridge on the new bridge. And I believe that sorry, Lauren, did you want to add any more
Oh,
about
no, no,
that?
you're doing a
Okay,
great
okay.
job.
I'm going
There.
to say the wrong words. And then there was discussion at our last meeting about the elements that they pulled from the bridge coming to the museum. And
Hmm.
then, yeah, we'll have to work with, so those will come to the collection. And then hopefully we can work with Metrolinx, which owns the station now, to do some kind of thing there if that's a possibility. If not, they'll be here at the museum and we'll use them in displays as we start rotating our permanent exhibits. So. Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank
cross
you.
your fingers that all works out. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have any other questions for Adrian, then I don't know, should we have a motion to receive his report? Does anybody want to make that motion? Polly, thank you. And all in favor? Okay, done.
Awesome.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks, everybody.
Moving
Adrian.
on to item 7.2, the downtown block party invitation. Lauren, you wanted to lead the discussion on that?
Yeah. I just, kind of quickly. So we've been invited to participate in this year's downtown block party on Saturday, July 26th. We participated last year with a booth. You guys know this better than I do because you were there. But James tells me it was a huge success and that it was great for everyone involved, but especially the community showed a lot of interest. We feel this event really is a good opportunity to raise awareness of the heritage work that we're doing, especially with the HCD, and to engage with the public and let them know, what we do. And so I guess it's come to the committee again to see if you have some interest in participating this year. I know I kind of flagged this to you guys earlier, but we would have to kind of know at least if we want to participate by the end of the month. And hoping to set up kind of a simple outreach table with some brochures, and if anyone's interested in organizing or running a walking tour, that'd be really, really interesting. But I guess it's just coming to you and asking, is there an interest in that kind of event again?
It's probably something that some of us could volunteer for.
Even interest, Brian.
Yeah, because I did the walking tours last year. It was a really hot day, so by the time we finished up doing a couple of the walks, I was glad to get out of there.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, anything we can do to, raise the profile of the committee in the eyes of the public is always a good thing. Lorraine, you had a
I worked at the booth last year at the sort of the first duty with James setting up, and then we answer some questions of people who are walking by, and I'm happy to do that again.
and John Crawley.
Yes, any idea what hours for that day?
James, what was it last year?
I think it started late morning, so probably at 11 or so. And then I think it went until around dinner time. And so, yeah, I think what we did last year was shifts. I think Lorraine and Bob and I apologize if I'm not sure who the other person was. There was three or four that came
Mm.
and helped, and really it was just sit there, answer questions, talk to people about so people have so many stories. I think that was the amazing thing, was to hear people come across and say, oh yeah, my great grandparents used to live here, worked here, did this and did that. Everybody seemed to have a story, and just having those chats was a lot of fun. And I think last year also we put up a couple just
Right.
boards with some photos of old St. Paul Street. Like I think we had a set of old postcard photos from like the early 1900s, late 1800s, and those really went really well. People really liked seeing that, and it was cool because you could actually like look at those photos and then turn your head and be like, look, that building's still here. And so it was a really, really nice kind of piece to have set up. So I think if there were multiple people interested in volunteering, we probably could do shifts again where we'd only need maybe a couple hours of your time, and it really is just sitting there and talking to people about history, which is kind of fun. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the other thing we had was the Marcus Smith map
Yes.
of the downtown, and people seem to be quite interested in that too.
Yeah, we had a few books as well that we brought out, and people were able to flip through those. And yeah, we had a bunch of materials, and maybe Adrian has some ideas for other things we might be able to put out
Yeah.
there.
Maybe, sorry, I don't want to jump in the line here. Does anybody else want to talk first?
I just wanted to mention that the timing was perfect because Brian and Bob and I'm not sure if anybody else was, so I'm sorry if I'm missing you. We had just, and Mark, we had gone
Maria.
on that's right, we had gone on a tour. Remember, everybody, we had gone on a tour, and the newer person in the role, not James, of course. It was James, you were there too. He was telling us all about some updates that were being happening or being planned for the downtown. And so we could add a little bit of that as well and say, oh, well, there's talk of this becoming a square, shutting down traffic. So we had all of that info there as well as some of the historic information, which people were really interested in too. Like, for example, Diana Sweets. So we were talking about Diana Sweets, and then people were saying, oh, but it's so sad that it's just sitting there like that. And then we could, add an exciting tidbit that it was being changed into, a restaurant and a brewery, and still capitalizing on the historic building. So that was good timing.
Yeah, Maria was the other person who was with us last
It
year.
was Maria. Yeah.
She came, I
Right,
think, at the
right.
very end of the day. Mark.
Yeah, I'd be interested in participating in the block party again, whether it's assisting a walking tour, because at this moment I'm not too versed on everything that's going on. If you were interested, Brian, I know you did an excellent job. I was interested the whole time too. I learned a lot as well. My job was just kind of keeping people in the group,
Herding the sheep along.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it's on at the booth, I'd be willing to be at the booth as well.
Holly?
You can put my name down too for the booth or tour, whatever you need help with.
Okay. Sounds good. Adrian, you wanted to jump in?
If you want, I can order some large prints of the fire insurance plans for St. Paul Street and some of the downtown sections, if that's something that you'd like. They're huge. Like, I might do them half size because they'll take up the whole table, and then it'll be chaos going through them. But if you have something specific, I can print the first version of it and supply those if you'd like, and people can stand there for a long time looking at them. And then we had originally planned to do a walking tour, one of our snacks tours with the Downtown Association on that day. But as you know, there's been some turnover at the Downtown Association, and my partner in crime for that tour has moved on. So we were also going to work with Rodman Art Institute on art and architecture tour. And there's also been some turnover there. So I'm just waiting for those folks to get organized, or those organizations to get organized, and we'll be working on that. But I had reserved July 26th for that purpose, so I'm free, so I can come help. And Brian, if you'd like, I can either just support your tour, which I'm happy to do. I don't want to step on any toes, or if you want to split up the tours or whatever, so that many hands make light work, especially on. I know how you can lose energy very quickly just standing in the sun. So I've been there. So if you want some help that way, I'm more than happy to assist. But I will take the lead from you for sure.
Yeah, last year the walking tour, the first one in the morning wasn't bad because we were semi in the shade, and then
Yeah.
the afternoon one, when the sun swung around, we were like, just being baked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good day. So yeah,
That's great.
and I think we started around 11:30 last year.
Yeah, I think we did 2 walks, right? We did one around lunchtime, like you said, like 11:30ish, and then I think we gave you an hour break to, get some water in you, and then we had you back out there for another hour and a half, I think.
At
Yeah.
2 o'clock, I think. Yeah.
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 But I think last year
James,
we probably had about 40 people total, would you say,
That's-
Brian, on the walking tours?
Something
Maybe
like
30 to 40?
probably 40 because the first tour I think we had about 25 people, and then the second one we had a little bit less.
Yeah, I thought it was really well attended. And we saw you guys walking. You were like a herd walking down the street, taking up the sidewalk. But no, it was great. It was fantastic, and we had a really good response from it, I think. So, and the other thing was the feedback we got back from the BIA was that from Rachel, who was the former director there, who I think is the person that Adrian was referring to, who's now not at the BIA.
Yeah, Rachel.
She thought it was great that we were there, and she came by and was thrilled that we had the turnout that we had, and was glad to see all these great old pictures of St. Paul Street and everything there. So yeah, they invited us back because it was such a success last year.
and we had started the booth earlier,
Mhm.
at least an hour and a half earlier, I think, than the tour.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So maybe it was like a 10 o'clock start. I think it probably took a little while for the crowd to pick up, but
Mhm.
yeah, it might have been 10 o'clock or so. But yeah, it's probably about an 8-hour day total, or 7 or 8 hour day. But if we split it up amongst people, I think it's definitely doable. So
Yeah, we'll have to think about if we do a walking tour, whether we want to sort of, retread the same, streets we did last year, or if we want to do a different focus of the downtown. Because last year we didn't. Last year we sort of ignored King Street. We just did St. Paul, and some of the side streets, leading into it. So maybe doing King Street might be a good idea this year, or church, whatever.
I think the nice thing about St. Paul is because it's closed for that day, it gives you a lot of kind of room to maneuver around if you wanted to. By all means, you could certainly go. And I think, did you guys go behind St. Paul Street as well? I think you went under, didn't you? As well.
Yeah, we went down because some people wanted to see Stilt City.
Yeah, because that's pretty cool, and the stories behind that are pretty neat. And I think unless we get a lot of repeat walkers, there will be people that maybe have no idea that all that stuff is down there, right? And might like to see that. So
Okay.
there's plenty of time though to brainstorm and think about what it might look like.
Okay. Yeah, we can discuss it at the next Heritage Committee meeting. Okay. I guess should we have a motion to receive the report? If there's no further discussion about it. Holly? Okay, and I guess all in favor? Okay. 7.3, the downtown HCD study. James, take it away.
So through the chair, the downtown HCD study is going to council on June 9th. The report was posted a couple weeks ago. Did I circulate that to everybody? My last couple weeks has been a whirlwind, and so I can't remember if I did. If not, I will circulate that to everyone. It might be the longest council report that council's seen in quite a while, including the study and the appendix. It's 800 pages, which it's massive. The report that Lauren and I kind of co-wrote is probably about 60 or so. And even then we were struggling to try to figure out what we could cut from it because there's so much going on with this study, and it was important to tell the whole story. So we can circulate that. By no means do you need to read it all or anything like that. You've already heard all the story from us, and our council or our consultants came and made their presentation to a couple meetings ago. And your motion has been included in there as well. And I'll make sure that your motion is presented to council in a couple weeks when I do my presentation. Lauren has some information about if anybody wants to delegate. She was able to talk to clerks about what that process is like, and I'll kind of let her take it from there. Unless anybody has any questions specifically about the HCD study that you want to address now, and then we can talk about delegation after. All right, seems like Lauren, you can jump in.
All right, through the chair. I know there are a lot of questions from members of the committee about what's appropriate, whether or not people can go as delegates and either present as just members of the public who care about heritage issues, or as representatives of the Heritage Advisory Committee. So I touched base with clerks, and they let me know that you're all welcome to go as members of the public, and be delegates if you want to speak to this project and to the study and the importance of the work that we're doing. That's or whatever perspectives you have to share with council, you're welcome to do so. You're also welcome as a committee to send a representative or someone who can come and speak on behalf of the committee. The clerks did ask that not everybody not show up and each individually delegate, because it can get very repetitive. And I know that that council and the mayor, they like to keep things pretty streamlined. But if there is a member who is interested in going and speaking, either as themselves or as a representative of the Heritage Advisory Committee, you're definitely welcome to volunteer and let us know. And then I also have I circulated the link to the website of where you can sign up to be a delegate. And I'll just share it just very quickly with everyone. And so I just sent this link around here. But you can send comments by a couple of different methods. If you want to send comments by either email or mail, there are instructions online. So say you don't want to attend, but you still want to make sure, that your perspectives are heard and read and received by council. You have the option to submit comments by email or by mail. And you can also request to be a delegate, request a delegation to City Council. There's a form online that you can fill out here. And you can indicate, which item you want to speak to. And I know that you can attend in person, or you can also request to be an electronic delegation. So you can actually remotely come to the meeting. They set up a Zoom meeting where you attend. They put your face up on the big screen, and you can speak to council that way. So I know that if say traveling to council, or if you're more comfortable in your own space and don't necessarily want to speak in front of everybody, but rather would be in your house, or if you have people with mobility issues, I know people who maybe can't attend in person for whatever reason. They do set up virtual delegations if that's something that you're interested in, and they will set you up and get you tested, and you can participate in the meeting that way. So I just wanted to share that. I sent that link around earlier this week, but I'll send it around again to you all.
Lauren, I'm actually going to send it to them right now because I'm also going to
Oh,
send a link to the study. So that way they
okay.
can have it all in one email and yeah.
Perfect. 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 So yeah, so that's just so you're aware, those are the kind of procedures around that, and I encourage you to attend if you want to, or if you have any friends or people who you know who are interested in being delegates, to share that information with them as well.
Okay, thanks. Have we had any further feedback about, from property owners, saying, heck no, this is a terrible, terrible thing that's going on?
Yeah, so through the chair, mostly through the downtown BIA. The downtown BIA is opposed, and they are doing a letter writing campaign amongst their constituents right now to send letters and emails to the various councillors and the mayor about their opposition. I don't know how successful that is. It started earlier this week. There was an email that was sent out to all of their members. So we'll see how that goes. I imagine there will be a number of people who will respond with that. But we also know there's going to be a fair number of people who will show up to the meeting and voice their concerns. And likewise, hopefully there will be people as well that are, there to support the project as well. So don't haven't caught wind of any kind of new people that are opposed, but it's the same voices and faces and groups, mainly through the downtown BIA.
Okay, thanks. Andrew.
Just a procedural question around that. My understanding was you could not send in the request until the agenda was released with and it appears it hasn't been yet on the city website. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so through the chair, it hasn't been posted yet. The study was posted because we posted the study early because it was so big, and so we wanted to make sure that people had time to actually read it. And so when the agenda is posted, which I think is tomorrow, but I can reach out to our clerk's department while we're meeting right now and find out. Yeah, I think after that point, you're able to uh, to basically sign up at that point.
Okay, that's what I thought. Um, I think it's a good idea. It would be a good idea if there was someone there to represent the Heritage Committee. I think having as much representation from the quiet majority as possible would be helpful to help balance out the louder minority that opposes this. I had been planning to participate. However, I do have sort of a specific perspective and agenda in mind, so I don't know that it would be appropriate to be the one to represent the committee. But I would encourage someone to do so. I think it's something that would be very helpful.
Lauren, you had a
Yeah. Just to answer just answer your question in kind of a more anonymized way. Since the last meeting, I have had one discussion with a property owner who was seeking designation specifically to lower his insurance rates. And I have had a conversation with someone on Church Street who was seeking designation who's within the boundary, but was asking about getting individual designation in order to qualify for the Heritage Grant. So there are property owners out there who are interested in designation, even within the study area. And so, just to answer your question, Brian, if we heard anything else, I am hearing other things that, show that it's not all, one-sided. Yeah.
not all gloom and doom.
Not all gloom and doom. No.
Okay, great. Aside from Andrew, is there anybody who might want to delegate it at this point? Yeah, we've got a little bit of time to think about it, but not a great deal. Okay. If there's no further questions or comments about that, then should we have a motion to receive the update? Dr. Bergen, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Item 7.4, 33 Locke Street. James, you have an update for us.
Yeah, so through the chair, 33 Lock Street, which came to our group a while back. I think it was in December, right, Lauren, if I'm not mistaken? It was a proposal for demolition right at the corner of Lock and Main, you might remember, and old 1860s building right at the corner there. They want to demolish the building and then replace it with a 4 to 5 story condo. Hopefully that all rings a bell. So that item went to council. Council denied the application, and as they have a right to, the applicant appealed it. And so essentially, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, waiting for the hearing dates to be given to us for an OLT hearing. Don't have much more to share beyond that. We've retained counsel for it because the heritage arguments in particular are very unique, and there aren't a lot of we at the city we don't have a lot of opportunities to really go to the OLT for heritage purposes. So our lawyers felt it would be best to get outside kind of representation, which council approved. So we'll be working with an outside lawyer who's really good to help us with this case. So we'll see where things go. I don't think there's much more I can share beyond that because a lot of it is based on legal proceedings and whatnot. So I'm sure you can understand. But as soon as I have a further update, I'll bring it back to you.
Oh, that's the first time we've had anything go to the OLT or the its predecessor since the Port Tower.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any others that we'd had. And obviously we're 4 or 5 heritage planners removed from the port tower. So our experience with it at the city is we have minimal experience with it when it comes to heritage issues. So yeah, so it's a little new to us, but it'll be an interesting experience. We'll see how it goes.
I mean that's probably been a good dozen years ago, if not more. Lorraine.
Were they required to have specific grounds to appeal it on, James?
Yeah, so what they do is they submit a letter based on to the OLT with their application to them, and basically stating what their concerns are and why they feel that their application was appropriate. And so those will be pretty much the basis for what their appeal is. I don't know if I'm allowed to share with you what those concerns are specifically, but at the very least, I'm sure you can kind of infer that they want to see the demolition happen, right? And they want to see their development come be permitted. So their arguments are based around those getting their application through, essentially.
Okay. Thanks, James. I imagine we'll hear much more about it.
Yeah, I plan as soon as I'm able to share more. Like there hasn't even been a date yet set for the OLT hearing. It can take a little bit of time for that to get set up. So once I have a date for that, and once we have kind of a bit more direction, I'm able to provide more information.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. If there's no further questions about that, then again, motion to receive. Mark, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Item 7.5, Welland House Hotel update. James again.
All right, so through the chair. So Welland House, there was an article in the Standard last week, or it was early this week, about the Welland House the site is for sale right now. It was recently put up for sale. Haven't heard much more about that in terms of the sale, but the reporter from the Standard reached out, asked what was going on with the materials that were on site that were salvaged. And so I do have some photos of some stone to show you. They're not the most exciting photos, but they're proof that the stone exists. Essentially, the cleanup, it took a while for the cleanup to actually happen. The demolition crew salvaged materials and they're held off site. It's the responsibility of the owner to hold on to those items, and they will provide us with essentially a documentation report that will outline and itemize what those items are. But we do have the photos of them to show that they exist. In terms of what happens with the next owner, we'll have to have those conversations, but the expectation, because it is a designated property technically, and because we had an agreement about this, the documentation and salvage strategy, the next owner would have to follow that as well, and that would be the expectation. So really, we will cross that road when we get to it, when it comes to a development application that we would anticipate coming in the future, probably from a future owner. But because the property is for sale right now, that's all up in the air, obviously. If you want to see some pictures of rocks, I will put them up on my screen. So on one second. So here are some photos. Oh, nope. Can you see that? No.
No, I can't see it. Oh, there.
There we go. So very large chunks of stone. They've got about 4 or 5 pallets full, which is pretty good. They apparently also have some brick that they were able to salvage as well. Brick is a little harder to salvage, but the stone that they were able to pull out is actually pretty substantial. So eventually, the plan would be to commemorate the Welland House site with these, or the Welland House's history, I guess, with these stones. What that would look like, it depends on what the nature of a development application would look like. But we'll, as I said, we'll cross the road when we get to it and see how we can incorporate these materials into whatever comes there in the future. I have one other picture of stones if we want another angle. So hold on one second. Can you see that picture of stones?
Yep.
Okay, well, there you go. Those are the pictures of stones that I have. And yeah, I'll provide more information once we hear more, but given that it's for sale and there, it hasn't, as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been sold yet based on the article in the Standard. We'll see what happens there with another developer or another owner in the future. So if you have any questions, by all means, I'm happy to answer them. But I don't have much more information than that at this point, unfortunately. So
Lorraine?
Somehow in my imagination, the pictures were a little bit more exciting than that, James. I have to confess.
Yeah,
but thank you for sharing.
No,
I
yeah, it's great that those materials are there.
Mhm.
And there is some tangible kind of, it tells a story in some way, right? But yeah, unfortunately it's not, it's not an entire wall or anything like that, right?
I was
So
thinking of, chandeliers and
no,
furniture.
yeah,
No. I just wanted to say that if anyone didn't have a chance to see the article in the Standard, I can probably access it online and send it out. So just let me know. Like you, James, did you save it or?
I looked at it as soon as you told me about it. I was able
Okay,
to
good,
pull it
good,
up.
good,
Yeah,
good.
I just missed that it had been put in there.
No worries.
Andrew?
I presume this is complicated to some degree by virtue of the fact that the property is being sold under power of sale. Is that correct?
Through the chair, I actually don't know the reasons why it's for sale. I just heard that it was for sale, saw that there was a for sale sign on the property, but I don't know much more beyond that, unfortunately.
My understanding from the listing agent was that he's representing the bank who was taking over the property. And he was not aware of the existence of any salvage material or the designation status. So it would be nice if people like that did know and would communicate that to prospective buyers, because I think it's important. But that was when I interacted with him. That's what I found. Just FYI.
Thanks, Andrew. We'll have to reach out to we'll have to Lauren and I will sort that out internally to figure out what the appropriate way to make sure that that information is got out there to the realtor, because there's probably a process we have to go through to make sure we do that properly. So thanks though for the information.
Yeah, my one concern about the Welland House is I know there were things down in the basement, like I keep talking about the Casaloma wrought iron chandeliers, and there's a bunch of other stuff scattered around in that basement. So hopefully when some new construction starts on that site and because I'm sure they're going to have to, excavate deeper than the current basement level on the building. That some of those things, if they're still down there, will be salvaged and taken into consideration for commemoration as well.
Yeah, through the chair, when they were doing the cleanup, I'd reached out to their heritage consultant who was kind of helping them with the work, and he didn't mention that they had found the wrought iron or I'm not sure how you describe it, but the Casa Loma items. He didn't see those when he was there, but that doesn't mean they weren't there. It just means that they didn't pull them out of the ground, so they could be buried under a lot of rubble right now. So yeah.
Did they actually get into the basement level of the
Well, and
building?
that's the thing. I don't know if it would have been safe for them to be able to get down there and do that type of work. So
Because that's where they were stored. I mean,
yeah,
when you went down the stairs from the lobby level, they were sort of around the corner and tucked in against the wall.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if they were still there when the building was burning, I think they would have been quite safe. You know, being protected, being up against the wall, and I don't think that part of the building actually collapsed onto anything. But you know, there's still stuff. It was, I mean, it was a huge basement under that building, and there was stuff like everywhere.
Mhm.
So there could still be all kinds of goodies down there that could be salvaged. Adrian.
This probably doesn't answer those specific questions, but it does maybe answer a little bit of Lorraine's comment that in the 80s there was a significant renovation where a lot of the historic material decoration, mostly um, dining room sets like forks and knives and that kind of thing, even the window lintels that came off of the building came to the museum in the 80s. So there is some historic material related to that. So not all historic material was lost because a lot of it was actually stripped out in the last 30 years, 20 years. So after frequent renovations. So, but that doesn't answer your question about the content in the basement. But not all historic material was lost because some of it was already here.
Well, that's good to know. Okay. Do you have any other questions or comments for James about that? Otherwise, I guess motion to receive. Lorraine, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Item 7.6, the renaming of Port Dalhousie Park. Lauren, you're going to address that?
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. My mute kept toggling on and off. This is very strange. So I've been contacted internally by the Parks Department. The city is seeking public input on a new name for the Lock One public space, the park at Lock One. It's, you know, the address is 45 Lakeport Road. But they were just interested in sharing that information with you. And it's a opportunity to propose a name that reflects the heritage of the area. The submissions are available. You can there's a website online, and I sent this around. Yeah, which gives you the opportunity to submit a name, a proposed name for the park. I'm just going to share my screen. Sec. And again, I sent the link around, but here is just there you go. You can see the park space. There is a request by the Councillor Garcia to rename the park. So the city's following through with that request of his. And there's a bit of information about the history of the space, some photos. And so we're just, you know, encouraging you as you members of the public and as, you know, people who have a special interest in heritage, if you have any ideas or know of anybody who might have any ideas or, you know, have any strong opinions on what this park should be named, you have the ability to do that through the survey online, which I circulated to everyone. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and I got an email about this from Carla Mackey. I think, was it the beginning of this week or was it late last week? But anyway, she sent links out about that as well. So, okay. I think for a change, maybe if there's no further questions, I might make a motion to receive your report. If I can do that, if I can be
Yeah.
so bold.
Yeah. It's
All in
wild, but
favor?
we can do it. Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, done. Uh, Miscellaneous items, do we have any? I don't think so. Subcommittee updates, 8.1, Lauren? Were we talking about updates for the designation subcommittee?
Yeah, sorry, I was just reorganizing my computer before I
Ah.
could get the mute off. I think I did also have an item just on the new Ontario Heritage Toolkit before
Sorry,
that,
sorry, I missed
but
that.
so that's okay. But it's really just a quick update because I did circulate the link. But is it okay if I do that one first
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
through the chair? Yeah. Um, all right. So through the chair, the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, it's the ministry that all heritage issues are currently organized under, published a new Ontario Heritage Toolkit a couple weeks ago. It is really, really excellent that they did this because the old toolkit has been out of date for probably 5, 10 years, and the new toolkit takes into consideration all the legislative changes that have been occurring, and provides a bunch more guidance on things like, the interpretation of, OREG 906 and how to evaluate properties for, cultural heritage value, and also provides a lot more guidance on, how to write statements of significance and things like that. But I wanted just to share with you because I'll share my screen. Um, as something that you could peruse at your leisure and at your interest, because the first book of the toolkit is Your Community, Your Heritage, Your Committee. And it is updated guidance on municipal heritage committees, advisory committees, and their role and what their responsibilities are and how they fit within the Ontario Heritage Act, and all that good information. So if you have any questions about your role, or just you're curious maybe how things have changed or what the current guidance is, it's available online as the first kind of book of the toolkit. There's also a book on heritage property evaluation, which I shared with the designation subcommittee, as well as designating heritage properties, new guidance on heritage conservation districts, which is relevant to our work downtown, and a separate book on heritage places of worship, which there's been a lot of discussion and guidance on how to treat churches and other places of worship, and in order to conserve the special heritage of those places. So yeah, just encouraging anyone. I did send around the link, but that's why it's relevant and of interest to you, and I encourage you to share or to check it out.
Okay, thanks. Questions for Lauren? No? Okay. I guess motion to receive. Andrew, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Now I guess we're moving on to the subcommittee
Yeah.
updates.
Again, just a quick update. The designation committee subcommittee met on May 16th. That was Christian's, our new student heritage or student planner, was his first meeting with us, and he attended, and we kind of you know, introduced him to some of the members. During the meeting, I presented 2 draft statements of cultural heritage value or interest and draft heritage attributes for properties that we've been working on. The first was for 143 to 153 St. Paul Crescent, and then the second was for 3 Elizabeth Street. We had a lot of really, really great conversation, back and forth, kind of detailed through each section of the statement and the heritage attributes. And the subcommittee had a lot of really good edits. And I was, for both properties, I was kind of directed to go to make some of those edits, and then to go consult with the property owners before bringing the final version of these, the statement of cultural heritage value, interest, and heritage attributes to both the subcommittee for review, and then eventually to this committee. So just letting you know, flagging it, next month we should have those draft statements prepared, after having those conversations, and hopefully be back soon.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks. Any questions or comments about the update? Okay. Oh, Lorraine.
Brian, can I just move us back to what Lauren was telling us about and you were highlighting the parts of the new booklet from let's see, what was it? The Ontario Toolkit. And one of the things you highlighted was churches. And I just thought I would mention as an incidental that I had a picture of the synagogue on the front cover of the Merit Matters last issue, and that was in a small article based on what the Heritage Committee had done, and it was very well received. Lots of positive comments, and Howard disseminated the magazine to members of the synagogue. So I just thought I would add that we made the Merton Matters. It was well received. Lots of good feedback about designating the synagogue. So I thought you might be interested in that.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, and we have a motion to receive Lauren's subcommittee update. Dr. Bergen, thank you. All in favor? Okay. Items of correspondence, I don't think we have any. The only thing I wanted to mention, speaking of Merit and Matters and things that are published, look for the next issue of the Port Reporter, which is going to be coming out in June. I've contributed an article to that about Mrs. Thompson's store on Main Street in Port Dalhousie, and I always like writing for the Port Reporter. They've always got so many interesting items and things in there, and I really feel guilty. I should contribute to Merit and Matters sometime. But
I
you
was
never,
just going to say that.
but you never approach me about specific things.
How specific do you want me to be?
Like, tell me to write about something and I'll write about it.
Okay, and I would open that up to anybody who wants to contribute to the Meriton Matters. I'm absolutely happy to receive it. I'm working on the next issue. It'll probably go to the printers July 15th. I do mine quarterly, so that's when the best space out is. So after July 15th, then I'll have a fall issue, and that will be it for 2025. So anybody wants to contribute, I would welcome it. And Brian, let me think something specific to get you to, to write an article. I'd appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay.
Lorraine, do you have any general parameters as to what you're looking for? What kinds of items?
It somehow, well, and your place has been featured in the Meriton Matters as well. Somehow or other, I managed to link it in with Meriton. It
You've
has
been
to have.
very supportive, and it's much appreciated. Maybe it's time to give back.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I'd appreciate
Mhm.
that. It has to obviously have something to do with Meriton. I'm always looking for things that have to do with the past, the present, and the future. And so, basically however you can link to a story from Meriton is appreciated, whether, as I said, whether it's the present, the past, or the future. Um, if you want me to throw out some suggestions, I certainly can after giving it some thought. But I appreciate any articles that are written from people who maybe bring a little bit different of a perspective. I think people probably get tired of reading all my articles.
Well, I don't, but theoretically that's possible.
Theoretically, that's
Um,
possible.
Part of what I was thinking was sometimes doing some of the property research, you encounter these stories you haven't heard before, really interesting local stories that have flown under the radar. And I
Yes.
feel like those might be, it'd be nice if those could be shared more, and maybe this is something that might work.
I absolutely agree. I think that the stories that people haven't heard before are often the ones that are of most interest. I've told stories about several of the houses and spots and history of Meryton. So anything that's a little bit unique. I know at one time, Brian came to me and told me about a person who I had never even heard of before in the history of Meryton. Unfortunately, I've forgotten the person's name. I didn't write it down right away. So I'll have to think about it to get Brian to write about that one. But yeah, anything that I mean, it can relate to other parts of the city as well, as long as it has some kind of connection that I can make to the Meryton community or someone who contributed something to the Meryton community. That's basically the theme.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could do things like, talking about the ghost signs that are on St. Paul Street, because one of the arches in the painted advertising has a reference to the Meriden cotton mill.
Yeah, so anything like that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just as long as it has some kind of connection that I can make to Meriton, and I would certainly appreciate anybody else's voice.
Yeah. And it takes some of the pressure off you from, constantly having to scramble to, put something together.
That's right. I don't put my byline on it because it's just on, I write a lot of the articles, but I'm always happy when I can get other people to contribute because I do think it brings a different perspective and a different voice than mine. So thank you for considering it.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, I guess our next meeting will be on June the 26th. Same bat time, same bat station. So do I have a motion to terminate for today? We all want to stay here until the next meeting? Thank you, Rachel. All in favor? Okay, so it's 3:43 according to the clock on my wall. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in June.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks for
Thanks.
everything.